Hello, you're watching CBC News Network. I'm Arthi Paul. U.S. President Donald Trump has just welcomed Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to his Mar-a-Lago resort in Florida. Trump spoke to media before beginning that meeting, and he touched on a priority for moving forward to the next stage of the Gaza ceasefire deal.
As quickly as we can, but there has to be a disarmament, that we have to disarm with Hamas. So one of the things we'll talk about, certainly, but there has to be a disarming.
Israel and Hamas have accused each other of violations of the agreement, but the truce has mostly held. Trump and Netanyahu are also expected to discuss Iran and Lebanon. And the CBC's JP Tasker is tracking developments for us. He joins us now from Washington. So, JP, what more do we know about what Trump and Netanyahu are discussing behind closed doors?
Yeah, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and President Donald Trump are there at Mar-a-Lago, obviously exchanging some really kind words about each other before they sat down for lunch. Trump saying Netanyahu is doing a phenomenal job. He says Israel might not exist if Netanyahu wasn't the prime minister. And Netanyahu saying that Trump is really the best friend that Israel has ever had in terms of an American president. But there is some tension in that bilateral relationship. We know, of course, Trump helped broker that ceasefire agreement, the hostage deal back in October, allowing virtually all Israelis held by Hamas to be released. Phase one has really worked out reasonably well, but there is some disagreement between the two sides on moving on to the second phase of that peace deal. None of the main elements are in place. There is no supervising board of peace, which Trump envisions as, a sort of committee of technocrats who will help govern Gaza. Trump himself wants to chair that body. There's been no sign of that coming together. And there's been no sign of an international stabilization force that they envision will be something that could be deployed to tamp down the violence and train some new Palestinian police to take over for Hamas, which has governed parts of that enclave for so long. Israel has also been hitting Hamas targets inside Gaza, despite the ceasefire agreement that Trump brokered. And Hamas is still deploying some explosive devices, including one that actually injured an Israeli soldier just before Christmas. So while the Trump administration is ready to begin rehabilitation, begin reconstruction of Gaza, you might have seen online some of these plans that have been drawn up, some futuristic plans of what that place could look like if American and Middle East money flows in. Israel is not there yet. They are focused on disarming Hamas. They want a total demilitarization of Gaza. And the Americans fear that the Israelis are essentially slow-walking the peace process, tarnishing one of the president's achievements of this year. So in short, Trump wants to press ahead with that celebrated peace deal, something he is so proud of and mentions at virtually every press conference, whereas Netanyahu, he isn't really ready for Israel to pull back just yet and let the plan unfold. So there is some fear in some circles that this whole thing could unravel. That's why they're sitting down today to try and smooth some things over.
And as we heard too, it's not just Gaza where there's disagreement between the two sides. What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, Israeli media are reporting that Netanyahu wants the green light from the United States to carry out more strikes on Iran. Meanwhile, it seems like the Americans are actually showing some signs that they're willing to negotiate with the Islamic Republic that Trump took on earlier this year with those missiles to the nuclear program. There's also disagreement over Syria. Netanyahu is worried about Israel's safety given the new president there. He has some ties to jihadist elements. Trump wants to give Ahmed al-Shara a chance to govern that place that he has taken over, where there's been a lot of destruction, of course, after years of a civil war. And then in Lebanon, the U.S. and France brokered a ceasefire there, but Israel continues to hit targets, Hezbollah targets, that they feel are a threat. Trump wants peace in the Middle East, and it just seems like it's really difficult to achieve, of course, and some people in his administration are quietly blaming Netanyahu and making trouble for what he says is a tough neighborhood.
JP, thank you for this. That is the CBC's JP Tasker in Washington. We do want to stay on this story. For that, I want to bring in Marwa Maziad. She is a professor of international relations and Israel studies at the University of Maryland. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
As we watch these two leaders get together, where is the pressure higher? Is it more on Israel and its prime minister, or on the U.S. side? We know that Donald Trump really would like to see this peace deal come to fruition.
I think the pressure should be on Israel, whether it is or not. a bit debatable, but it should be on Israel. The United States has partners in the region. They are very dissatisfied with the way regional instability is expanding beyond Gaza, but into extended Lebanon, Syria, and the president is not happy with pressuring Syria at this point. He wants to give Syria a chance, and Israel's attacks or strikes on Syria, even in Yemen, and with this recognition of Somaliland, it's antagonizing Egypt and Saudi Arabia and a lot of the Arab Muslim countries. So in a sense, the region is way too more unstable than what Trump would like. So I think the pressure now is on Netanyahu to play ball, to be a partner with the United States in a more stable region. We don't want another war with Iran. We want to cool things off a little bit. So I think the pressure is on Netanyahu to follow the strategy that Trump has for the region, which is more integration, more stability, reconstruction of Gaza, all the things that should come with the second phase of the Gaza plan and the subsequent plans for the region entirely. So, the pressure is on Netanyahu.
So Marwa, then, when you say it's up to Netanyahu at this stage to play ball, what is the likelihood that coming out of this meeting that has just begun in Florida right now between the two leaders, that we may see something concrete, such as the implementation or a plan for the start of the second phase that would require that board of peace and further withdrawal as well from Israel military?
I want to be optimistic. I want to say the likelihood is there, but Netanyahu is very adept. He's capable of convincing the American side. He's capable of pitching a plan, and he could argue that no, Hamas is not disarmed. We don't want to give them a place to grow. We don't want to be having we want to maintain the upper hand. So he can be convincing in his outlook of things. The point is, it has to be counter-argued that Trump wants something else for the region. And the regional players who have been meeting with Trump could also pitch this vision of more stability and moving forward But whether it's very possible that Netanyahu can convince Trump that maybe no, let's pressure even Iran further. Let's have another strike on Iran in the new year. It's all possible. It's a matter of pitching your viewpoint and being convincing enough. And we can go either way. So I would say it depends on whether Trump has been listening enough that he wants a more stable region. If that's what he wants, then we should move to phase two. The International Stabilization Force should be formed, a role for the Egyptians, the Turks, and even the Qataris in this stabilization force. We should move on if we want to bypass the current moment where Israel is actually very much unintegrated in the region and very much seen as the destabilizing force. So if we want to move from that episode into something more fruitful and productive, along with everybody else in the region, then we should follow the plan that Trump set. But it's possible that Netanyahu can convince him otherwise, because he's persuasive. He has another viewpoint. So it's all up in air how we might proceed or not.
And to your point, of course, Hamas disarmament is a main focus of the second phase of that peace plan as well, in terms of a permanent or a more permanent ceasefire between Israel and Hamas here. I am wondering, for you, when this bilateral talk wraps up and we hear both of the leaders, which we expect they may speak after that, what would be success when it comes to moving into the second phase?
Okay. That's a very good question. Success would be announcing that we are proceeding to phase two, and having by mid-January, which is the initial plan, having formed the International Stabilization Force. The idea of disarming Hamas has to be framed as a political thing, as in a political framework. the international stabilization force is not going to go after Hamas and clash with them, and maybe we see exchange of fire between Egyptian forces or Turkish forces and Hamas. That is not going to happen. That's not acceptable. But there could be a program of Hamas giving up some of its arms. Anyway, they have been, the capability has been, disintegrated, degraded. So it's a matter of finding the tunnels, so there could be a process by which there is coordination between Hamas and those forces, but it shouldn't be as if pitching them against those forces. Otherwise, that will fall apart. So success would be announcing that we're going to phase 2, announcing that Hamas is going to have a political framework of giving up its arms, but not in a way that is clashing with the forces, and announcing the board that is going to oversee the entry of all these aid and reconstruction and all of that, and the withdrawal from this yellow line of the withdrawal of the IDF, the Israel Defense Forces, from parts within Gaza, and all the talk about settlements in Gaza and all of that should stop. So we really proceed, and we have a Gaza that is livable and overseen by international trusted actors, trusted to opinions. And that's why I think a role for the Turks and the Qataris would be very much appreciated from the American side, to have credibility and credence with the Palestinian side. So that would be success. That would be Israel working with the other partners in the region. That would be Israel not reticent. That would be Israel responding to the need of the region for stability and progress. So that would be success. If Trump can convince Netanyahu and his government that it's in their own best interest to proceed with this. But I can see also the other way around, where Netanyahu succeeds in convincing the American side that maybe you can do another escalation and wing it with Iran and put everything back on fire, and we proceed a little bit with that. But any military success is not political long-term stability. So that would be the caution here.
And I'll have to leave our conversation there for now. Thank you for this, Marwa. That is Marwa Maziad joining us from Maryland. Thank you.